rise for the presentation of the colors and the singing of the national anthem by Danny Fritsch.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you, Danny. Please be seated. Good afternoon. On behalf of the university community, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Fall 2017 Graduate Commencement exercises. We want to thank our governing body, the Virginia Tech Board of Visitors, led by Rector Dennis Tracy. Board members are appointed by the governor, and Virginia Tech greatly benefits from their deep and genuine commitment to our university. I would also like to welcome Dr. Hans Robinson, faculty representative to the Board of Visitors, Robert Seebeck, staff representative, Brett Netto, our graduate student representative. Please join me in recognizing these individuals with your applause. Through this ceremony, we recognize your significant achievement and celebrate your talents, skills, and hard work. It's also important to note that these students would not have achieved their goals without the teaching, guidance, and mentorship of Virginia Tech's outstanding faculty. I would now like the faculty to please stand and be recognized. Just as crucial as the role of the faculty, the supporting cast of family, friends, and community members behind each graduate student deserve recognition. Would these individuals please stand so that we can congratulate you as well? Graduate students are important to the university's research, teaching, and engagement missions and are able to earn degrees in Blacksburg at locations across the Commonwealth and online. During the summer and fall semesters, 1,153 students earned advanced degrees and certificates from an offering of 89 master's and 70 doctoral programs in 8 colleges. There are approximately 360 graduates here today. As part of the graduate commencement, we invite an outstanding graduate student to provide a brief message on behalf of the graduating student body, followed by the keynote speaker to provide reflections and perspective. It is now my pleasure to present Virginia Tech's Interim Executive Vice President and Provost, Cyril Clark, who will introduce the graduate student speaker and the keynote speaker.
It is my pleasure to introduce our graduate student speaker, Lisselle Joseph, who will receive her doctorate today in aerospace engineering. Lisselle moved to this country from Grenada in 2008 to study aerospace engineering at Virginia Tech, earning her bachelor's and master's degrees and now graduating with her PhD. Her work is focused on experimental aerodynamics and wind tunnel testing. She participated in numerous extracurricular activities focusing on recruiting underrepresented populations, diversity and inclusion, leadership and mentorship, and founded a writing group for her department. She recently began working as a senior aerothermo engineer on compressor aerodynamics at Pratt & Whitney. Please join me in welcoming Lisselle Joseph.
Thank you, Dr. Clark, for that very kind introduction. Faculty, staff, distinguished guests, family, friends, fellow graduates, good afternoon. I feel both humbled and privileged to be speaking to you today, not just because this is an incredible honor, but also because there were times I wasn't sure I would even finish this PhD. I would love to say that this was easy and that I am a natural genius who just sailed through every part of this program, but nothing is further from the truth. I struggled, I doubted, but I also sought help, and like all of you, I persevered. So, while being on this side of a graduate degree from Virginia Tech feels surreal, we earned this. We earned this on all those nights when we left the lab at 3 a.m., seeing only graduate student cars in the parking lot. We earned this on all those snow days when the university was shut down, but we, perhaps unwisely, braved the weather to get that last paper done. We earned this during that month when we disappeared from civilization as we prepared for our preliminary exams. We earned this every time we missed a trip with our friends from undergrad who had real jobs and were traveling the world while we were doing homework at the age of 25. We earned this every time we had to explain to our families that we couldn't make it home for a visit because we had to work, even though we were technically students. It is because of these sacrifices that we are here today, but it is also because of the help of so many other people, our advisors, who didn't simply dispense orders to underlings, but instead challenged us to think at a higher level and grow into worthy colleagues. Our families, who supported us constantly and passionately. Our fellow graduate students, who were right there with us on those late nights and those snowy days, keeping us motivated, and let's be honest, entertained. I am grateful to so many other people, mentors, administrators, counselors, friends. You have all made graduate school successful and enjoyable, and for that, we thank you. Graduates, this is the point in the speech where I should give you some brilliant nugget of wisdom. Well, I don't have it. At this level, I am certain that you have heard all the cliches before. And when it comes to giving actual life and career advice, I am no match for your mentors and your advisors, so I won't even try. What I will do is issue you a challenge. I was born and grew up in the small Caribbean island of Grenada. To me, it has always been home. So in 2008, it sounded absolutely crazy when I decided to leave everything I knew and move to Blacksburg, Virginia to study aerospace engineering. When I arrived, I was nervous and I was alone. But I was forever changed by the warm and kind embrace of the Hokie Nation. We have all experienced it, that intangible sense of acceptance, respect, community that exists here at Virginia Tech. For years, it has motivated us to be better. The big event, Relay for Life, mentoring programs, diversity and inclusive initiatives, our research projects. These are just some of the ways that we embodied the principles of this community while we were here. It is undeniable that each of you, with the degrees you have earned today, wherever they take you, will change your specific discipline. But I challenge us to also strive to change our workplaces, our neighborhoods, our families, through the values that we have lived here. As we move on, let us recommit ourselves to being leaders in civility, integrity, tolerance, respect, and in service to others. In today's world, where sometimes it might feel like being divisive and intolerant results in popularity, I think we can all agree that we can use more Hokies committed to the values of this institution. I challenge you to be one of those Hokies. Congratulations on this incredible accomplishment, graduates. I wish you the very best as you go out to change the world. But for today, for once, take some time to celebrate. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, LaSalle. I now have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Brenda Winkle. Dr. Winkle currently serves as head of the Department of Biological Sciences. She joined the College of Science faculty in 1992 and has served in a wide range of leadership roles during her tenure, including as founding director of the university's Translational Plant Sciences Interdisciplinary Graduate Education Program. Her laboratory's research focuses primarily on understanding the intracellular organization of metabolism and consistently works across disciplines, including in a long-standing partnership with the Brewer Lab in the Department of Chemistry to develop novel anti-cancer agents. Dr. Winkle earned a master's degree in chemistry and biochemistry at Southern Illinois University and a PhD in genetics from the University of Georgia. Please welcome Dr. Brenda Winkle.
When I came to Virginia Tech 25 years ago, in the fall of 1992. One of the first events that I attended was new faculty orientation over in Squires. It turns out that this occasion led to one of the defining moments of my scientific career, because it was there that I met Karen Brewer. Karen was another new faculty member in the chemistry department, and we naturally gravitated towards each other as just two of a handful of, at that time, the women in attendance. I have to admit that I don't remember a whole lot about that occasion, except at one point Karen asked me, "Do you know anything about DNA?" Those 6 words were the start of a 22-year-long collaboration that have resulted in a large cohort of students and postdocs working at the interface of chemistry and biology, who learned a language that neither Karen nor I spoke fluently, publishing a pile of papers in chemistry journals, which is pretty fun for a molecular biologist to include on her CV, and we even had a patent issued for a new anti-cancer drug that made it into clinical trials. Perhaps some of you have a similar story about your arrival at Virginia Tech and how a chance encounter led you in surprising new directions, taking you across the drill field to embrace new ideas, technologies, opportunities, and even friends. Many of you are sitting next to someone whose program you brought a new and sometimes entirely different disciplinary perspective. I'm here to talk to you today about partnerships, professional partnerships that have been the key to your success so far and that will help define how your career unfolds from here on out. I have wondered many times about the magic at the core of my collaboration with Karen Brewer. Karen was ahead of her time in being able to cut through conventional disciplinary boundaries to forge strategic partnerships, whether with graduate students who mastered new chemical syntheses and biological assays, a colleague in the vet school who could test the complexes in animal cell cultures, or a company that developed lasers for medical applications who could bring the complexes to clinical trial. The magic was in Karen's ability to realize what was needed to take a project to the next level, and importantly, her generosity in sharing credit for the work with everyone from high school students to the CEO of her industry partner and individuals from all different cultural, ethnic, and educational backgrounds, male and female alike. There have actually been a whole lot of studies on the keys to successful partnerships. These have identified common threads, including by studying some of the most famous examples. Think about Sergey Brin and Larry Page, the founders of Google. A mathematician and an engineer, they met as graduate students when Brin was assigned to give Page a tour of the Stanford campus during his interview. They did not get along at all well at the first, but published the first version of Google just 1 year after they met. Then there are musical teams like the Beatles' Paul McCartney and John Lennon, and the Motown songwriting duo Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson, some of the greatest creative partnerships of all time. And then there are Robin Chase and Antje Danielson, who founded Zipcar, the rent-by-the-hour car service in 2000. Although the partnership was short-lived, the business went public in 2011 and was later acquired by Avis Budget Group for nearly $500 million. There are also countless examples of the power of the marriage of technology and design, the iPod being one of the most notable, developed by a team of 6 engineers and designers led by Steve Jobs, a remarkable interdisciplinary collaborator who also teamed up with computer scientists and producer John Lasseter at Pixar to develop the first computer-animated film, Toy Story, in 1995. And, in fact, one of the earliest examples of what is now known as converging mediums comes from the visual arts, the collaboration of surrealist master Salvador Dali and filmmaker Luis Buñuel on the silent short Un Chien Andalou in 1929, creating something that neither of them would or could have done alone. And that is the overarching theme of all effective partnerships, that they create something that is so much greater than the sum of the parts. Another recurring theme is that partnerships cannot be forced. This was one lesson learned in the Iger graduate program that I was part of several years ago, a $3 million NSF-funded project that brought together civil engineers, geologists, biologists, and psychologists to study interfaces between disciplines and between people. The lead on the project was University Distinguished Professor Mike Hoschella, who came up with the name IGER for this program, an acronym for Exploring Interfaces in Graduate Education and Research. Pretty clever. Well, in fact, the Eiger is a 13,000-foot high mountain in the Swiss Alps, whose summit can only be reached by experienced climbers, and that has been highly publicized for the many tragedies involving climbing expeditions. Since 1935, at least 64 climbers have died attempting the North Face. Needless to say, we did not emphasize that aspect of the program's name, especially to student recruits. So back to forging partnerships. Although the Eiger program had many successes, including bringing together a highly collegial group of like-minded faculty, one of the failures was one of its most important lessons, that assigning students to interdisciplinary teams, even for a single one-time class project, often does not work out all that well. Instead, it's pretty clear that the most effective teams are ones that self-assemble. Google sprung from a meeting during a campus tour. The Beatles can trace their roots to a meeting of two teenagers at a church festival. Zipcar was hatched by two women watching their kids on a playground. It's gratifying to see that many of the Eiger graduate students survived the North Face and went on to impressive careers, typically transcending traditional boundaries themselves. They include two Eiger alumni now settled in Northern Virginia, one of whom became a AAAS Science and Technology Fellow at USAID, and the other a materials engineer at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, studying biomineralization processes at the intersection of geosciences and cell biology. These two were also married a few years ago, just up the street here at the Hahn Horticulture Garden, and now have a super smart and beautiful 2-year-old daughter. Another angle on the interdisciplinary collaborative. So in addition to complementary expertise, to chance meetings, and compatible or sometimes even not so compatible personalities, what are the key elements to a successful partnership? Most studies agree that it is critical for each partner to recognize their own limitations and respect what the other can bring to the table. It's also essential that they embrace diversity of ideas, of disciplinary knowledge, of culture, gender, perspective. And one other thing that cannot be emphasized enough, either in personal or professional relationships, whether they totally like each other or not, each should be the other's biggest fan. Last but not least, it may well be a matter of just asking simple questions, such as, do you know anything about DNA? You may have heard the recent story by NPR's social science correspondent, Shankar Vedantam, about a new study that shows that people who ask more questions are liked better by their conversation partners. So there you have it. These people may also be more adept at initiating partnerships. There's a sad note to my story about the collaboration with Karen Brewer because we lost her in 2014 after a long illness at a much too young age of 54. But there are many happy notes in this story as well. 1 year ago, I stepped onto this stage to hood our final PhD student, Roberto Padilla, who earned his degree developing novel transition metal-based agents for light-activated cancer treatment. After we lost Karen, Roberto was ready to quit several times, but he prevailed, defending his dissertation just over a year later. He's among the many former students continuing Karen's legacy of interdisciplinary team science, currently as a protein analyst at KBI Biopharma in Raleigh-Durham. Transdisciplinary partnerships are clearly the key to addressing the great challenges of our times, and you leave Virginia Tech ready to do just that. You have spent your graduate career in an environment that values collaboration and fosters mutual respect, with some of the lowest interdisciplinary boundaries of any academic campus. As you enter a world where multidisciplinarity and teamwork are the rule, I urge you to remember these 4 basic principles. Recognize not only your strengths, but your limitations. Embrace diversity. Be your partner's biggest fan and ask people questions. You may be surprised at where it leads you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brenda. I very much appreciate your commitment to graduate education, interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary, and thanks very much for mentoring all of the students that you have. So thank you very much. Each commencement we select an unsuspecting, I don't know that they're expecting. You'll see why that slip is. Anyway, let me just go back to my script here. That's what I get for trying to ad-lib. We select an unsuspecting graduate student for special recognition. And this year, there are two that I want to highlight. I would ask Holly Grant and Michelle McLeese to stand up. And remain standing, please. Holly and Michelle are receiving their PhDs today, and they juggled, balanced pregnancy, childbirth, raising children, jobs, extracurricular responsibilities, research, and studies. Between the two of them, they have 5 children that have been born during the time of their graduate studies. Their partners' husbands are also Virginia Tech graduates, and all of, I think, the families are here today. Holly is earning her PhD in mathematics, and Michelle has earned her doctoral degree in sociology. They provide an example of how one strives for the often delicate balance between home life and studies, and how to thrive, not just survive, during the graduate education experience. They have partaken of at least one of the programs offered through the grad school, and that is the Work-Life Grant. And we also have added to our experiences of the Little Hokie Hangout. And so now what I want to do, highlighting these two, but I know that there are others of you with similar experiences. So would all other graduate students who have started families and raised children during their graduate studies please stand? Thank you. And I think it's a demonstration of the commitment that our graduate students make to completing and balancing their lives. And yes, Michelle, you can sit now. So, every graduate student has a story to tell about their journey, and we don't have time to tell all of the stories. You may do it later, or you may have already done that. But I just want to highlight some milestones and achievements along the way. The individual journey varies, especially when given the multiple locations through which we offer our graduate degrees, the National Capital Region, Roanoke, Richmond, online, and beyond. And so now I would like those of you who have earned the degree from the National Capital Region, Roanoke, Richmond, online, or other places in the Commonwealth around the world, would you please stand? Thank you. Your challenges are different than those that the grad students face in Blacksburg. Now, this comes the interactive part of the ceremony. Please rise and remain standing if you have received a national fellowship or scholarship. Some of you, I know, are in the room. One bestowed by regional government, local corporations, organizations, professional societies. Good, one brave, 2 brave souls, great. National fellowship or scholarship, remain standing. If you are a recipient of the Outstanding Master's Student or Doctoral Student in each college, or the Alumni Association's Graduate Teaching Excellence or Service Awards, or the William Preston Society Thesis Award, or a Graduate Student of the Year, there should be more of you standing. You're getting a theme here, I hope. Please stand and remain standing if you have earned the recognition as a Graduate School Citizen Scholar, a Diversity Scholar, participated in the Grad School's Global Perspectives Program, or a member of the Boucher Society. Or if you were inducted into the Interdisciplinary Research Society, Iota Delta Rho, or Alpha Epsilon Lambda, or served on the university participating in the Graduate Honor System, in governance through the Grad Student Assembly, or on a university committee or representative to the Board of Visitors. Okay, I'm failing in my quest to get everybody to stand. I'm going to do it. So if you have participated in the GSA Research Symposium, in the Graduate Undergraduate Mentoring Program, received a travel grant award through the Graduate Student Assembly, or attended many of the workshops or events sponsored by the grad school, like the Welcome Back Picnic, you know, the lunch with the dean, the guac talk with the dean. I know some of you have been there. I've seen you there. Okay. Please stand if you have visited the Graduate Life Center or any lecture, symposium, or class. Yes, we're getting there. Use the reading room, the computer lab, the student lounge, or the new health and wellness space. You may not know that, but Room G is now the graduate student health and wellness space. Anyway, by now, I hope that I have not failed and that all of you are standing, because I want you to stand so that the friends, families, and colleagues congratulate you on your achievements today. Thank you very much. And now you may be seated. As we approach the awarding of the graduate degrees, there's one other tradition that I want to share with you, a tradition that we developed over 14 years ago now. The tradition is that we present an original music composition as a gift to the graduating students, written solely to celebrate this day. I think there have been at least 6 of these compositions, and I'm pleased to share with you today the composition by Associate Professor Eric Lyons, and it is entitled Of the Beginning. Please take a few minutes to enjoy the music that accompanies the images and reflections that you will see on the screen.
We will now begin the conferral of doctoral degrees. A very old and special tradition in academia accompanies the presentation of the doctoral degree. The doctoral candidate and the student's major advisor, the advisor who most mentored and supervised the student's research, walk together to the stage where the advisor places the hood over the head of the graduate. By hooding the graduate, the faculty member symbolically welcomes the graduate as a professional colleague, and this professional relationship and friendship often continues throughout the graduates' and the mentors' lives.
Will all the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Education degrees please rise? President Sands, I have the honor to present the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy and the Doctor of Education degrees.
With the power vested in me by the Board of Visitors and the Commonwealth of Virginia, and upon recommendation of the faculty, I confer upon you the Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Education degrees to which you are entitled with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
Will the marshals please escort the candidates for the doctoral degrees and their major professors to the stage for the hooding ceremonies. Dr. Joe Marola will be reading the names of the doctoral recipients and the hooding professors.
Receiving the Doctor of Philosophy from the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences in Agriculture and Extension Education, Lorianne Eleonora Macaulay, hooded by Professor Kim Niwolny. In Animal and Poultry Sciences, Ying Chen, hooded by Professor Samer El-Kadi. Javier Charlene Garcia, hooded by Professor Eric Wong. Suleiman K. Matarne, hooded by Professor David Gerard. In Animal Science, Dairy, Alston Neal Brown, hooded by Professor Christy Daniels. Hannah L. Tucker, hooded by Professor Christy Daniels. In Crop, Soil, and Environmental Sciences, Neil Ryan Carpenter, hooded by Professor Carl Griffey. Shan Soon, hooded by Professor Brian Badgley. In Economics, Agriculture, and Life Sciences, Mina Hajazi, hooded by Professor Mary Marchant. Ling Yu, hooded by Professor Mary Marchant. In entomology, Nicholas Ryan Larson, hooded by Professor Timothy Kring. In food science and technology, Calvin Michael Waldron, hooded by Professor Joseph Eifert. In human nutrition, foods, and exercise, Mordecai Micah Harvey, hooded by Professor Matthew Hulver. John Wesley Kavanaugh, hooded by Professor Matthew Hulver. From the College of Architecture and Urban Studies in Planning, Governance, and Globalization, Mark Ricard Fialkoff, hooded by Professor Ann Kademian. In Public Administration and Public Affairs, Muna El-Daba, hooded by Professor Ann Kademian. Michael Linder Zarankin, hooded by Professor Karen Holt. From the Pamplin College of Business in Business, Information, and Technology, Megan Wydick Martin, hooded by Professor Karen Holt. From the College of Engineering in Aerospace Engineering, Lizelle Anne Marie Joseph, hooded by Professor William Davenport. Hao Ting Wang, hooded by Professor Eric Patterson. Di Zhang, hooded by Professor Eric Patterson. In Biological Systems Engineering, Clara Bernice Darko, hooded by Professor Kumar Malakarajunan and Professor Mary Lee Wolf. Sampat Ashoka Karunurathni, hooded by Professor Mary Leigh Wolf. Felicia Yi Xia Scott, hooded by Professor Warren Reuter. In Biomedical Engineering, Zachary Stephen Bailey, hooded by Professor Pamela Vandevoort. Allison Marie Buchanan, hooded by Professor Pamela Vandevoort and Chris Williams. In Civil Engineering, Pan Ji, hooded by Professor Amy Pruden and Professor Mark Edwards. Mo Han Chin, hooded by Professor Jen He. Burke Uslu, hooded by Professor Mark Edwards. Hyang Yuan, hooded by Professor Jen He. In Computer Engineering, Sharin Ganam, hooded by Professor Lynn Abbott. In Computer Science and Applications, Yin Lin Chen, hooded by Professor Edward Fox. Yue Cheng, hooded by Professor Edward Fox. In Electrical Engineering, a special celebration, a husband and wife, both receiving their doctoral degrees, She Han Cui, hooded by Professor Kai No. And he, Ling Xiao Shui, hooded by Professor Kai No. Said Ahmud Alajloni, hooded by Professor Pablo Tarasaga. Brett Michael Human, hooded by Professor Pablo Tarasaga. Timothy James O'Shea, hooded by Professor Charles Clancy. Abhijit Sarkar, hooded by Professor Lynn Abbott. Ahmad Anan Tubele, hooded by Professor Robert Broadwater. Du Tong Yang, hooded by Professor Vasilis Kakatos. In engineering mechanics, Arnab Gupta, hooded by Professor John Duke. Subradeep Roy, hooded by Professor Nicole Abaid. In industrial and systems engineering, Saad A. Alabdul Karim, hooded by Professor Maury Nussbaum. Alice Catherine Haskins-Lyle, hooded by Professor Don Taylor. Alba Claudia Rojas Cordova, hooded by Professor Ebru Bish and Professor Nyoshu Hosinikchime. Wen Meng Tian, hooded by Professor Don Taylor. In materials science and engineering, Ibrahim Yunus Al-Kalfala, hooded by Professor Alex Anning. Brian Richard Kerr, hooded by Professor Bill Reynolds. In mechanical engineering, Tariq Rizvi Alam, hooded by Professor Mark Pearson. Puya Behruzinia, hooded by Professor Reza Mirzaifar and Professor Saeed Taheri. Andrew James Bollinger, hooded by Professor Wing Ing. Lu Chen, hooded by Professor Javid Bayandor. Jeffrey Odin Feaster, hooded by Professor Javid Bayandor. Robert James Griffin, hooded by Professor Alexander Leonessa. Brandon Alexander Horton, hooded by Professor Javid Bayandor. Yun Bo Ho, hooded by Professor Mehdi Ahmadian. Raul Otero, Jr., hooded by Professor Wing Ing. Kartik Narayanan Radhakrishnan, hooded by Professor Michael Ellis. Kevin Kent Schroeder, hooded by Professor Javid Bayandor. Amarico Giuliano Woolard, hooded by Professor Pablo Tarasaga. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences in Career and Technical Education, Allison Hamblin Rowley, hooded by Professor William Price. In Curriculum and Instruction, Kwame Ansong Jima, hooded by Professor Barbara Lockie. Keith Richard Besterman, hooded by Professor Thomas Williams. James Starr Carlson, hooded by Professor John Wells. Xiaoyan Ma, hooded by Professor John Burton. Tanji Felicia Reed Marshall, hooded by Professor Trevor Stewart. Melissa Marie Rose McCulley, hooded by Professor Mary McCulley. Sushila Shanta, hooded by Professor John Wells. Veronica Lynn Van Montfrans, hooded by Professor Peter Doolittle and Professor David Niola. In Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, Ahmed S. Alfidi, hooded by Professor David Alexander. In Educational Research and Evaluation, Janice Erlene Austin, hooded by Professor Elizabeth Kramer. Cherie Dion Edwards, hooded by Professor Elizabeth Kramer. In Higher Education, Favredi Daku, hooded by Professor Stephen Janosic. Byron A. Hughes, hooded by Professor Joan Hurt. Carl Thomas Krieger, hooded by Professor Claire Robbins. William Nelson Pruitt III, hooded by Professor David Niola, Professor Joan Hurt, and Professor William Pruitt, Jr. Gerald Henry Walls, hooded by Professor David Niola and Professor Elizabeth Kramer. In social, political, ethical, and cultural thought, Melissa Rachel Schwartz, hooded by Professor Thomas Gardner. Dana Christine Volk, hooded by Professor Francois de Barnes. In sociology, Michelle Frances McLeese, hooded by Professor Michael Hughes. From the College of Natural Resources, in forestry, Herman E. Petzold III, hooded by Professor Amy Brunner. Stella Zucchetti Shones Dovali, hooded by Professor Gregory Amaker. Anthony Joseph Timpano, hooded by Professor Stephen Schoenholtz and Professor Carl Zipper. From the College of Science, in chemistry, Jeremy Beach, hooded by Professor Robert Moore. Elizabeth Saunders Childress, hooded by Professor Webster Santos. Joseph Shelby Clements II, hooded by Professor Paul Carlier. Yi Fan Dong, hooded by Professor Kevin Edgar. Shi Gung, hooded by Professor Tiana Grove. Jing Huang, hooded by Professor Richard Turner. Cheryl Lynn Peck, hooded by Professor Webster Santos. Christopher Charles Presley, hooded by Professor David Kingston. In mathematics, Holly Victoria Grant, hooded by Professor Yuriko Renardi. Justin Michael Kruger, hooded by Professor Matthias Chung. Shu Ping Xie, hooded by Professor Traian Iliescu. In psychology, Yashna Jitendra Shah, hooded by Professor Roseanne Foti. In statistics, Ian C. Crandall, hooded by Professor Scotland Lehman. Meng John Zhao, hooded by Professor Ann Driscoll. From the Virginia-Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine, in Biomedical and Veterinary Sciences, Thomas Reed Brickler, hooded by Professor Michelle Thus. Angela Marie Ives, hooded by Professor Andrea Bertke. Xiaofeng Liao, hooded by Professor Xin Luo. Allison Overstreet McKell, hooded by Professor X.J. Mung. Tracy Lynn Popielarczyk, hooded by Professor Jennifer Barrett. Mariam Naeem Saleh, hooded by Professor Ann Zajac. Interdisciplinary doctoral degrees in macromolecular science and engineering, Lourdes Magdalena Orejuela, hooded by Professor Charles Fraser. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, receiving the Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, Chris Daniel Hewitt, hooded by Professor Glenn Earthman. Tamra Joan Vaughn, hooded by Professor David Alexander.
And now a round of applause for our newly minted EDDs and PhDs. Among the graduates today are individuals who have earned a postmaster's education specialist degrees and those who have earned a graduate certificate. I want to congratulate those of you on those achievements. The university offers many distinctive master's degrees, including a large number from the disciplines that confer the Master of Arts degree and the Master of Science degree. And the other master's degrees also include the Masters of Fine Arts, Masters of Business Administration, the masters and professional masters in disciplines such as architecture, business, education, engineering, forestry, information technology, landscape architecture, natural resources, public health, and public affairs and urban planning. Will all of the candidates for the master's degrees please rise? President Sands, I have the honor to present the candidates for the master's degrees.
With the power vested in me by the Board of Visitors and the Commonwealth of Virginia, and upon recommendation of the faculty, I confer upon you the master's degrees to which you are entitled with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
You may be seated. Will the marshals please escort the candidates for the master's degrees to the stage? At this time, Dr. Marola will read the names of the master's degree recipients.
From the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, receiving the Masters of Science in Agriculture and Extension Education, Robin W. Atkins. Aaron Ritchie Burcham. Rachel Ashley Purnell. Receiving the Masters of Science in Agricultural and Life Sciences, Jessica Hill. Charlotte Maxwell. Receiving the Masters of Science in Animal and Poultry Sciences, Kevin Nathaniel Young. Andrew Ryan Weaver. James Hamilton Lewis. Caitlin Nicole Ray. Receiving the Masters of Science in Crop and Soil Environmental Sciences, Diana Marcela Escamilla Sanchez. Receiving the Masters of Life Sciences in Food Science and Technology, Kendall Wilson Fogler. Receiving the Masters of Science in Human Nutrition, Food, and Exercise, Caitlin Marie Perzinski. Brittany Ryan Thorpe. Receiving the Masters of Life Sciences in Plant Pathology, Physiology, and Weed Science, Cara Brooke Pittman. Cam Shelton. From the College of Architecture and Urban Studies, receiving the Master of Architecture, Dennis Daniels II. Andres Salazar Del Pozo. Receiving the Master of Science in Building Construction Science and Management, Mark D. Chang. Receiving the Master of Fine Arts in Creative Technologies, Elham Niku. Receiving the Master of Public and International Affairs in Government and International Affairs, Ibrahim Shah Ahmed Mohammed. Receiving the Master of Landscape Architecture, Melissa Phelan. The Masters of Science in Architecture, Andrea Carolina Bonilla. Kanoknath Panitan Serukul. Anchi Dangupta. Receiving the Master of Public Administration, Catherine Bennick. Heather Dietz. Shelley Hayslip Sugarman. Melinda Ann Nash. Kimberly Vivian Taylor. Wanosha Horami. Robin Rand II. Chelsea M. Jackson. Paul Edward Drumright. From the Pamplin College of Business, receiving the Master of Accounting and Information Systems, Karen Lind Bukert. James Lee. Eric Stephen Skan. Nina Hanseri Sawat. McKenna Dale Shiree. Wei Ji Dung. Victor Onyango Anyango. Receiving the Master of Business Administration, Sarah Elizabeth Saxton. Christopher Eric Single. Kathleen Coates Edel. Megan Heather Bermudez. Constance Morgan Anderson. Catherine Taylor Andrews. Vijaya Lakshmi Malakarjunan. Amanda Carpin. Sharon Curick. Kira Gaunt. Nagesh Prabhu, Rosalind Lull, Matthew Mayar Mostafai, Mike Breitenbach, Chris Josino, Ricardo Cubillos, Murray Rhodes, Paul Schneider, Ramakant Singh, Carrie Cousins Spiller, John Polcha, Bob Zempel, Haley Rose Inman, David Coleman, Alex Moffett, Christopher Buchanan, a Master's of Science in Business Administration with a concentration in Business Analytics, Robert Lawrence. Receiving the Master of Information Technology, Jason Dean Schrodel. Receiving the Master of Science in Hospitality and Tourism Management, Donald Burke. Do Young Kim, from the College of Engineering, receiving the Master of Science in Aerospace Engineering, Ravati Rajiv Deshpande. Nicholas James Albertson, receiving the Master of Science in Biomedical Engineering, Kristen Dunford. Receiving the Master of Science in Civil Engineering, Sadhana Chukala. Caitlin Gessner. Mitchell Stephen Humans. Michelle Elizabeth Mitzel. Rebecca Elwood Pinney. Anyuran Paul. Jalal Fatemi. Jonathan Vastag. Sudiksha Yogi. Anthony George Di Giantomaso. Evan Matthew Grant. Chad Verdin. Maria Fernanda Lima Suarez. Roberto Nevares Garibaldi. Alexander Lechik Osuchowski. Luis Eduardo Zambrano Cruzati. Wen Chu Yao. Samarth Gowda. Jason Lassiter. Nathan Daniel McWhirter. Fatima Nuri Siddique. Maria Grace Haas. Samia Bimana Duni. Jesse Donati. Brianna Nags. Amanda Maria Weichman. Melissa Lynn Micah. Gregory Murthill Jr. Sina Marisa Flynn. Jonathan Colebrook, Devin Jackson, Kyle Thomas Polsinski, Ritwan Ghosh, Yifei Shi, Ji Li, Kang Yang Chen, Yan Zhang, Chao Fang Hu. Receiving the Master of Science and Master of Engineering in Computer Engineering, Jigar Shashikant Patel. Joshua Alexander Bokanek. Receiving the Master of Science in Computer Science and Applications, Bradley A. Harold. Receiving the Master of Science and Master of Engineering in Electrical Engineering, Irsin Salvi. Iktikdar Ahmad Khan. Shriya Shah. Hui Ying Huang. Chao Lan So. Shantanab Deb Chowdhury. Lee Cordella. Li Tian. Receiving the Master of Science in Environmental Engineering, Kei Li. Lu Guan. Thomas Gregory Westfall. Zhen Yu Wu. Naveta Ramesh. Julia Francis Bird. Amy Olson. Jacob Edwin Schlotterer. Catherine Little. Receiving the Master of Science in Industrial Systems Engineering, Raghavendra Kumar. Anush Sukumar. Debanshu Basu. Rajan Thakur. Eric Andrew Fichtel. Receiving the Master of Science in Materials Science and Engineering, Catherine Frey. Receiving the Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, Sterling Marcelo McBride Granda. Bishwajit Dutta. Matthew William Spicer. Joshua Nicholas Moser. Denver Walling. Catherine Nicole Smith. Allison Jean Gutler. Kang Pham. Ashish Jain. Andrew Kim. Liuri Li. Mingyang Zhang. Chen Tang. Zhaozhu Fan. Dylan Morton. Brittany Gator. Sunish Vadakavitil. Receiving the Master of Science in Mining Engineering, Chelsea Barrett. Zachary Morgan Henderson. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, receiving the Master of Arts in Education in Counselor Education, Emily Johnson Russell. Master of Arts in Education in Curriculum and Instruction, Zachary Samuel Kwong. Kelly Wallace Woodward. Louise A. McCarthy. Kelly Martin King. Suzanne Ashford. Mary Caitlin Holinek. Danielle Joyner. Amanda Blair. Receiving the Master of Arts in Education in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, Susan Pringle. John Paul Otey. Receiving the Master of Arts in Foreign Languages, Cultures, and Literatures, Sarah Marjorie Shoemaker. Receiving the Master of Arts in Political Science, Deanna Clark. From the College of Natural Resources and Environment, receiving the Master of Science and Master of Forestry in Forest Products, Krista Stables. Receiving the Master of Natural Resources, Emily Claire Drahos. Megan Jane Kleppinger. Mikal Jabbar Montgomery. Meredith Leslie Robinson. Hannah Gail Godsey. Michelle Catherine Schmidt. Blake Edward Waller. Jeffrey Parker Osterloh. Taylor Mead. Ian Tenido. From the College of Science, receiving the Master of Science in Statistics, Alexander Jeffrey Durbin. From the Virginia Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine, receiving the Master of Public Health, Sarah Frances Boyle, accompanied by Charlie, the service dog. Logan Rebecca Brown. Anna Agood. Taysir Fawad El Janabi. Sonia Chaco. Madie Moslemi. From interdisciplinary degree programs, receiving the Master of Information Technology, Stuart Lossing. Dan Huynh. Ryan Spoon. Andrew Douthit. Douglas Scott Rogers, Jr. Li He Xing. Andrew Michael Mills. Yoo Jin Kim. Jia Wen Hao.
Please join me in offering our congratulations to all of the graduates. Congratulations. I would like to ask Debbie Day, Associate Vice President for Alumni Relations, to share congratulations and a message on behalf of the alumni.
Good afternoon. I am thrilled to be able to bring greetings to you as our newest alumni today. This is a special day in your life and in the life of this great institution of higher learning. You are now joining more than 250,000 Hokies around the world who, because of their experiences here, are solving problems, serving their communities, and changing the world every day. As graduate students at Virginia Tech, you each played a unique and multifaceted role within our community. You brought your own undergraduate experiences into a higher level of learning and inquiry. You brought with you unique skills and perspectives from the workplace, from military and humanitarian perspectives, and from your own upbringing. Many of you served as students, some as researchers, still others as teachers and as institutional ambassadors. Some of you did all of those things at the same time. That makes what you have accomplished in earning your graduate degree from Virginia Tech so remarkable. You gave your talents to our community, and for that we are all very grateful. It is in the spirit of our university motto, Ut Prosim, that I believe your efforts were delivered. As Hokies, we live Ut Prosim every day. It's more than a motto, it's who we are. We serve others, we help each other, and we fight for what's right. As the newest class of Hokies, we now depend on you to continue that service. Be an ambassador for the university that has supported you, visit campus often, remaining engaged with your major professors and research sponsors, mentor other Hokies, share what makes our community so special with others, and tell us where you land in this world so we can keep you connected to Hokies nearby. Know that from this point on, for the rest of your lives, the world will expect extraordinary things from you because you are now a graduate of Virginia Tech. On behalf of the Virginia Tech Alumni Association, congratulations to each of you.
As a final note, I would like to call upon Dr. Hans Robinson, the President of the Faculty Senate, to bring a brief message of congratulations on behalf of the university faculty.
Since I'm the only thing standing between you and a well-deserved celebration, I will be very brief. First of all, thank you for spending your time here at Virginia Tech. If you're anything like my students, I know you've made deep marks on your advisors, your fellow students, and on the university as a whole. But now, and I know this can be difficult to process, I know it was for me, you're actually done with school. So the only thing that's left for me to say is a deep and heartfelt congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Robinson. A special thanks to Dr. Marola as reader of names, to the faculty ushers and marshals, to Danny Fritsch, and to Wallace Easter and the members of the Virginia Tech Brass Ensemble for their part in this afternoon's ceremony. Now please stand until the stage party has recessed. With the recessional, our ceremony will be concluded. Thanks for joining us and have a safe trip home.